Good morning and welcome to the second episode of Forging Ahead. I'm Aviv Manoach and this is a show about tabletop role-playing games where I discuss the shenanigans of my home group and prepare the next adventure. You can join me live each week right here on twitch.tv/isel.me, all one word, or subscribe to the podcast audio on dwarfcast.net, the home of the On the Shoulders of the Dwarf podcast. So what are we doing in this show if you haven't watched or listened to the first episode? I'm running a game of Masks, A New Generation. And what I'm doing in this show is trying to prepare for the next session and with an emphasis of providing side stories for my players, because that's my weakness as a GM. I'm doing a good job of providing an overarching story, but less so when I need to tailor a specific plot for each character. So we will start with what was previously going on in our session, and then I will talk about some of the major plot elements and continue to what will be going on the next session. This time we jump forward 4 days. The previous sessions happened on Saturday and Sunday. We are going with Israeli week, which starts on Sunday. So Saturday is the weekend, and then Sunday is the first week where the team went to school. Then there was a quick thing that Amraphel did on Monday, and now we jumped ahead. It gave us also an opportunity to use the when time passes moves. Specifically, Amraphel is Janus, so he needed to roll a check to see if he keeps with his obligations, part of his sacred identity, and he did. He rolled 10 plus, which meant that he also gained some sort of advantage or opportunity because of his obligation. One of his obligation is a part-time job at a local petting zoo. So I had him discovered along lost tunnels under the city from World War II era. Right now we didn't do anything with it, but it can be significant later because the zoo is located near some of the major location for the story, and specifically the archaeological dig site, which is important. Also near the city museum. If you're watching the live stream, I'm opening up the city map so I can show that the zoo is located in the north part of the city, near the archaeological dig site, the museum, and some street away from the Titania dance club, which is the focus of our sessions at the moment. The Titania holds, besides being a popular party location, it also holds the underground fight club that the team is investigating at the moment. Earlier this week, they tried infiltrating the club to scout it out, which went kind of wrong. They stumbled upon a security guard that was controlled by Hexen, although they are not aware of the specificities of her powers, but they discovered that she is looking for the Tablet of Anat, which they now know also that Rave, the club's owner or manager, is also looking for. And Amraphel, during that incident, also volunteered himself to be a participant in the fight club itself in order to get into it. So that's what we did on the Friday. We jumped ahead from Monday to Friday, and Amraphel got into the meeting to join the Fight Club. He met with Rave's right-hand man, Oron, which introduced him to the other participant, the two high-profile ones, which are Red Owl and Razor. The team heard about both of them in school. The kids were very enthusiastic about their fights, beside the point that the younger teenagers can't even get into the Titania, so they are hearing about these fights but can't actually watch them. And there were two newcomers, Harpy and Echo, beside Amraphel himself. The other members of the team, the Flying Fist and Seabreeze, went up into the roof to scout things and watch the meeting from afar. And Oron sat at the entrance. He was looking for someone that is more weak-willed in order to use his telepathy powers to connect with him and sort of ride inside his head to see what's going on inside the club. What's interesting is that Oron saw Hexen, the same woman they encountered a couple of days earlier, entering the club, and he also saw a bunch of younger teenagers getting into the club, despite the club only allowed for people above 18 years old to get in, because it's a club for adults. Again, we're in Israel. The law in Israel is serving alcohol from 18 and above, not 21, like in the States, for example. Amraphel and the other participant got in. They went down into the basement. There was a kind of cage, like in Hexen Apocalypse, chain link cage. There, Amraphel and Echo got into it. They fought. Amraphel used the crowd's enthusiasm to encourage them to make a lot of noise, because Echo's power are supersonic. So the cheers of the crowd interfered with the powers of Echo, and so Amraphel was able to beat him. Echo even started begging him to stop at one moment, because I decided that his condition was afraid, and so he tried to make him stop, but Amraphel didn't stop until Oron stopped him and declared him the winner, and that's the point where we finish the session. The next thing I want to talk about is the structure of the factions in the city at the moment. All of the factions I created are connected in some way to the story so far. We had 7 sessions. All of those factions are currently only related to the side stories. I'm still not touching the main plot of the campaign at all. Power Star is a bit related to the major plot, but it's still his own little storyline and not the overarching plot. So we have the Titania Club, Rave and Oberon. This is the sort of criminal enterprise in the city, despite Rave being very young. She's about 22. She is controlling all the criminal stuff that happens in the city, and her goal is to keep the stability of the city. She's not evil. She doesn't try to do crime for the sake of crime. She profits from crime, and she wants to keep the city stable. She wants to keep things from deteriorating, and the various wonders faction from fighting each other outright. That's why she established the Fight Club, because she wants younger wonders to be able to come to the Fight Club and take on their aggression there. She also hopes that if the Fight Club become an established institute, that she can make the warring gangs, wonder gangs in the city, come to the Fight Club and settle their differences in the ring instead of on the streets. Rave herself doesn't have any powers. She's normal, a normal person, but she does employ several people with powers, one of which is Oron, which we already established. Oron is a sensor. He has the power to detect people with powers in a radius around him, and also what type of powers they have. Not the specifics of what they can do, but generally. Amraphel is a shapeshifter. He knows that he can detect if you have mental powers, physical powers. Maybe he can know if you can, blast him with energy powers or stuff like that. But only the general sense of what you can do, not the specifics. He also can interfere and disrupt powers. I didn't want to bring into the campaign a power negation this early on, so I didn't give Oberon the ability to negate powers, only to interfere with them. And this kind of made sense with the Fight Club settings, because an idea I had actually yesterday is having Oberon rig the fights. Since he can interfere with people's powers, he can make it so one participant will win over the other and no one will know. So that's a bit of what I'm thinking about. Rave sent, we'll talk about it in a moment, but Rave is aware that fragments of the Tablet of Anat is being traded in the city, and she wants to get her hands on it because, again, she wants to keep them from falling into the wrong hand, and she wants to profit from it. So she is also connected to that plotline. Next we have the Ankh, which the party already met Hexen briefly, and they don't know anything about the Jackal. The Jackal is the head of the Ankh. He's an older man. He's an Egyptian sorcerer. We call them in Hebrew Hartum. I don't know the exact English translation for that, but is a practitioner of the ancient magic from Egypt, which is actually a wonder, but his powers manifest as spells and magic. And he wants the Tablet of Anat for the sake of power. He wants more power. And he doesn't care about the city. He's not from here. He's a foreigner. He doesn't care if he needs to raise the entire city in order to gain the power he wants. He thinks that in the tablet there is the information for a ritual that will allow him to do very bad things to his enemies. Hexen is a younger girl. She's about 18. She has the power to influence and connect to people's senses. She can see through your eyes, hear through your ears, but she can also affect your senses. She can blind you, she can make you deaf, she can make you hear high-pitched noises that will pop your ears. She can affect your balance and cause you to feel vertigo, etc. I have no idea at the moment why she's with the Jackal. Not established that. It didn't come up in the story yet. We will get there and we will decide that. Okay, so beside those two, we have the two gang faction of the city. The first is headed by Power Star, which the party met during the first session. Power Star is in his 30s. He started using his power over the last 10 years. Before that, he wasn't involved in all the wonder stuff. He wasn't part of the War of Might. And is a more high-profile wonder in this city and in the country in general, despite actually being an illegal wonder, because he's not part of the authorities, of the armed forces. He still uses his power on a regular basis to help people until the incident where high-profile wonders were abducted by what Power Star thinks is government agents. And because he thinks there is a government conspiracy to abduct wonders, he tries to expose it. And that's what led to the radio station incident in the end of the week. That what we talked about in the previous episode. So Power Star, he was defeated by the team at the radio station, but he escaped. After that, the police didn't find his body. My thinking right now is that he's trying to keep a low profile, and he's adopted a new persona and a new costume in order to keep hidden. And that costume is actually the Red Owl. As the Red Owl, he pretends to not have any powers, but still goes on as the Red Owl and fights people, and he now participates in this fight club, in the Titania fight club, because he thinks that getting into the fight club will allow him to gain more information about these abductions. Last time the team heard that he fought a heroine called June, and now he's going to fight another heroine called Razor, and we will see how that will turn out. And the last faction is headed by Darkness. Darkness, the only thing we know about them, I don't even know if it's a man or a woman, is that they escaped the Boar, which is the prison holding superpowered individual at the fissure, making them engage with the fissure spawns that comes out of it. And Darkness escapes. This is one of the key figures we wrote when we created the city. They are now somewhere in the city, and their power is to manipulate memories. They can erase memories, and they can also insert new fabricated memory. And Darkness does this for the highest bidder. They sell their services, and they also are heading a group of wonders that all of them are for hire. They are wonders for hire. Not they can they can be hired to do good things, and they can be hired to do bad things, and Darkness doesn't care. And he comes in direct confrontation with the faction of Power Star. Because Power Star doesn't like that there are people running around being paid to use their superpowers. He thinks that the powers needs to be used more altruistically to the greater good, and not just for money. So right now in the city, the people under both Power Star and Darkness are kind of in a gang war with each other. It's low-key at the moment. There weren't any big explosions or anything like that, but it's going to get a lot worse in the following sessions. We are just in the first week, real time of our campaign. This is part of the things that's going to happen in the future. Okay, so the specific character storylines for Amraphel is connected to the Tablet of Anat through his friend Alex. She's also a key figure in the campaign. Her mother works at the archaeological dig site, and Titania tags are threatening her mother and blackmailing her to bring them the fragment of the tablet. Those are employees of Rave. As I mentioned, Rave wants the fragments of the tablet in order to keep the peace and also gain money. So Amraphel is already kind of deep with this whole Tablet of Anat thing before we even know about the Jackal and his plans. Oron is not aware of it, but the incident which he thought his squad mates and CO were killed in a car accident was actually a false memory implanted by Darkness. Did this, of course, because they were paid to do this, I think by the CEO himself. I think that what happened is that the CEO and his squad wanted to escape, wanted to leave the military, and so they fabricated their deaths. Actually, the thing that only Oron actually believed that there was a car accident. His superiors told him that there were no sign of any accident, and the rumors are in the military dormitories that Orons lived in that they just stole the equipment and went AWOL. So the all reason that darkness was paid was to keep Oron from finding out, because Oron is a very powerful telepath, and he was aware that they are just going to run away. He would have alerted his superior. The thing with his storyline that Oron is starting to realize that the organization that took him as a child and raised him and is taking care of him is actually not as altruistic as he thought, and he's trying to see the flaws in them, and we'll see how it will go. The next is the Flying Fist. I don't have a connection to the other plotline in the moment. I'm having a tough time to insert a story, but the thing that we have established is that she has a brother called Horel, which is a powerful aeromancer, have wind control powers, which the Flying Fist also has, but hers is very weak. And he was taken by Seraph. Seraph, or Seraph, is the international superpowers law enforcement agency, the parallel of SHIELD, if you may. We don't know at the moment why he was taken, if it was because he broke the law and needed to be imprisoned, or because he was recruited, or anything like that. But I need to use him. I need to somehow bring a brother back. It can be the actual brother appearing in the story, and it could be rumors about him or some kind of story about him. One of my goals for the next session is to have something to do with the brother involved. And the last one is Seabreeze. She's a newest addition, and I have a vague idea of what I'm going to do with her. She's from a virtual world where everyone is in a war between people and monsters, and I think we will have some sort of villain related to computers to try to, after they witness Starbreeze appearing from the virtual world into our world, I think this villain will try to bring more things from the virtual world to the real world, like terrifying monsters that will attack the city, and shape-shifting vehicles and stuff like that. And maybe we will have some sort of overarching plot about the two worlds beginning to mix together and the horrific things it does to the real world and to real people. So that's the storylines for the team. The next session specifically, we will have the continuation of the Fight Club. Amraphel versus Harpy. This is we will find out what happens by the rolls. I'm not going to interfere with this fight. After that, we'll have the big match between Red Owl and Razor, and I think Oberon will try to interfere in the fight, and then Red Owl, which is Power Star, will try to use his real powers. As I mentioned, when he's under the Red Owl persona, he hides his powers. He doesn't use any powers. After Oberon will try to make Razor win the fight, I think it will spur Red Owl to try to use his powers, and then maybe the team will recognize him behind the castle. We'll see. A couple of other things I want to do in this session is, like I said, have a mention of Flying Fist's brother somewhere. Maybe there will be a rumor about a fighter that came to the Fight Club a couple of months ago with wind powers. That's a possibility. And the other thing we need to do in the next session, I don't know if we'll actually have time for the entire thing, mix in both darkness and Hexen. Hexen will try to track someone that is selling fragments of the tablet. And I don't know how darkness fits into it. It won't be actual darkness. It will be one of his lackeys. Maybe they will speak with someone in the fight about doing something for payment. I don't know. I'll try to make them involved in some way. So that's it for now. We discussed everything that needs to be discussed. Next time we'll catch up on what happened in the next session and discuss how to proceed. I hope I will be able to bring to the session everything I was thinking about. We'll see. In the meantime, you can catch me on Twitter at Isel. Check out more about my games on Vanor Games to a Mage page on Facebook. And can join the On the Shadows of Group community group also on Facebook. And thanks you very much for listening or watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.